So I did a report in the middle of January entitled, Will Oil Prices Affect Home Sales? And so now I'm back here to report to you as what happened in January. And January, actually, it did have an effect. It seems like it had an effect. And it looks to me like what happened was people, in essence, they froze. So we didn't have a lowering of prices. The average sale prices are the same as they were. And the prices per square foot maintained pretty close to what they were. The number of units actually is down. So the number of sales is actually down. But with that said, we had a lot of new people put their homes on the market, which means that we're sitting at about 8,100 listings. Now, you might say, well, that's a pretty high amount. But actually, last year, we had 9,000 listings, and that was a very, very hot market. So what that means to me is that for our population base, 8,100 listings, it's not oversupplied. And with the lower interest rates that were presented to us by the Bank of Canada only a few weeks ago, it may surge the market a little bit, and we may get some things happening. Also, we had the oil prices go up a little bit, so that's a little bit of optimism. But you always have to think about what 8,100 listings means. Now, to some people say that's a fire sale, but I think that what happens is people, they don't move out of their houses, they move into a tent. They're doing something. So, and only less than 20% of our buyers are actually new home buyers. So what you can imagine from that is that 8,100, that is mixed of a lot of different types of people. But for the most part, people are not leaving Calgary. That means that they're looking to move up. Now, in markets like this one, oftentimes people like to move up when they see the interest rates go down and they see that the properties that they want to buy right now, there may be a good opportunity for them to buy. And they may want to be taking advantage of this right now because it looks to me like, in my opinion, is that they manipulated the oil prices to be above $100 at one point. And they're probably manipulating them now. And if that manipulation finishes, in the next few months, then the window of opportunity to make a decision may be gone as far as capitalizing on any kind of thing in the market.
To help make our stats a little bit more relevant to you, I'm going to divide up the city into different quadrants. We're going to do the inner city, the northwest section, the southwest, and what we're talking is west of Sarcee, because we would consider anything east of Sarcee to be inner city. The deep south, which would be Fish Creek, Chaparral, Mahogany, all of these south areas. And lastly, we'll do the northeast. At the end of the video, we'll go over the whole market so you can compare how your numbers match up with the overall. So in January, we sold 100 properties in the inner city, and those were priced between $462 and $482 a square foot, and the sale price was $592 to $677. Now compare that to the previous month. Actually, we had 118 sold in December. Not a big change. $460 was our median sales price per square foot, and our $502 was our average price, which probably was a result of a $2.7 million sale in that month. That would have increased our average sale price, and it would have also, looks like it would have increased our price per square foot a little bit overall. So when we look at the previous year, 200 sold listings in January. So that means that we're 50% for inner city. We're down quite a bit as far as sales are concerned. And but the sales prices are still better than they were last year. So $446 was our median price per square foot, and $476 was our average last year. Now we look at our inventory supply. We want to look at 840 active listings. So what's really compelling about this 840 number is that actually that's a fair amount of listings for this time of the year. So what that tells me is that we've got a lot of people, there's only 17% or a little bit more than that of people that are new home buyers. What that means is that most of these people that are put their homes on the market here when we got this much supply are people who want to do something. So they either want to move up or move down. They want to do something. So they put their homes on the market. They're not all revenue properties, I'm sure. So 462 was where between 462 and 482 was where the sales prices were per square foot. And we look at what we've got available in the market. Most of what's available is actually larger than what's sold. So we got 500 to 548. So that tells us a little bit about what's happening there. So what's available and left on the market is really priced higher than where most of the buyers are looking. Now when we look at our inventory supply, we can see here that we had 5 sales under 350, and we have 5 available currently. So not a lot of supply. Of course, there never is down there. And then when we get to up to the 600,000 to 700,000, we've got a really oversupply compared to what sold last month. But again, 8,000 overall listings on our market right now for our population size is not huge. So I'm guessing right now, with the amount of people putting their home on the market, I'm thinking that we may have to just wait and see what happens in the next month and how many people decide to jump in and buy houses. So now we'll move on to the Northwest section. So moving on to the Northwest, 150 sold listings, and they were priced between $301 and $314 a square foot. $301 was where most of the buyers were buying, and the median price, people were buying homes that were $486, whereas the heaviest weight of the buyers were, and the average sale price was $501. Now we look at the previous month, 174 sales, so Northwest was not too bad compared to December. When we look at the previous year, 268. So we didn't get started with a bang this year. We're down about 100 sales for the Northwest, but the sales prices per square foot are still good. So 283 last year and 298 was the average. We're at 314. So it means that our pricing is still strong. And so it was actually on average, it was down a little bit for as an average, it was down a little bit for January. But when we look at that, might have to do with how much was weighted onto the higher end. So it looks like it's fairly similar to on the sales price per square foot. But when we look at the inventory supply, we can say we got 628 listings. So we do have a lot of supply right now. And that supply of inventory is priced between 311 and 341, which means that there's in the median price group where the heaviest weight of listings are, that's about $10 a square foot where the heaviest weight of the buyers were buying. And so that means that most of the properties that are currently available are priced a little bit higher than where the buyers in December were looking for properties. So you've got to remember that these people were looking at what we got on the market here is 545 to 611. People were looking for homes priced between 499 and 512. So we may experience people trying to find homes in these areas are most likely going to have a little bit of difficulty when it comes to finding something in that price range that they want. When we look at our inventory supply, we can see that there's really nothing for people to buy between 300 and 350. And when we go up to 350 to 400, there's a lot of inventory, and there's a lot of inventory in every other sector. So it really means that there's a lot of listings, an oversupply as of compared to December. But like I said before, I think that with this many homes coming on the market, with the amount of sellers are often buyers. You have to remember that, and those buyers, when they sell, they're going to become buyers. So it just when everybody starts trading, we'll see what happens. And keep something in mind: if you're thinking of selling or buying, you're always buying and selling in the same market. So if the prices are lower, you're buying in that market too. Now we're going to move to the Southwest section. We're talking west of Sarcee, Aspen, these areas, Signal Hill, and so forth. Now that's Southwest section. 27 sold listings for January, and they were sold at $337 to $344 a square foot, and the list price was $685 to $702. That's where the buyers were buying. The median was where the heaviest weight is. Now we look at our the previous month, 36 sold listings for December, so a little less for January than December. And the prices were, looks like the prices were, on the average, they were a little bit higher, but that was due to the fact it was a $2.1 million sale that would increase the market average, of course. Now, so that means that particular sale had a higher price per square foot, which would raise that average square foot price per square foot, would raise that between up to 348 from 344. It had an effect there. But on the median, it didn't have much of an effect. As you can see, that the pricing was actually better for January. Now we look at how compared to last year, really that's not a huge change for that area. Maybe we can say there's 25% more sales last year than was this year, but the prices were less than they are this year. So $325 a square foot last year, $339 for the average last year, so $344. So it's very close to being similar. And even similar numbers when I look at this. Actually, last year we had an average sale price that was a little bit higher, for that month, but it was a $1.5 million sale here, where we had a high sale was $990 here. So that would have increased the average sale price, but as I say, most often that's not very meaningful. The price per square foot is our most meaningful number. Now we look at the sold listings and what's available. 251 available properties coming into February for there, and we've got those properties priced between $394 and $423 a square foot. Now the buyers were looking for properties priced between $667 and $688, and when we look at what's available, I mean, none of that is available, and these are also bigger homes. So we'll have to think about, the seller's got to think about what they're selling. If you've got something that fits in the price range where the buyers are looking, of course you'll sell it. But if you've got something much higher, then it becomes more difficult. Now we look at our inventory supply. We've got some properties available between 450 and 500. We had no buyers in that group. We've got 500 to 550. There's not a lot to buy in there in that price group. And we've had some sales between 550 and 6. Most of the sales are usually priced up in the higher ranges in that area, and there wasn't a lot of sales in there. People are maybe sitting and waiting on that one. But there's a lot of new inventory that came on the market, of course, and increased the inventory supply.
And now we'll move to the Deep South. Evergreen, Silverado, Cranston, Mackenzie Town, all these South areas.
Now that Deep South area, 172 sold listings for the month of January 2015, and 284 a square foot to 299. Now when we look at the previous month, 202 listings sold, and they were priced between 286 and 302, so a little bit higher. And we've got the top sale was actually a little bit higher for this month, so that shouldn't have lowered that average. But in fact, it looks like there was probably more weight on the higher end of the sales prices for December. Now we look at how that compares to the previous year. We're down 100 sales for January, and we've got $270 a square foot. So the pricing is still better than it was last year at the same time period, and it's very, very close to the same price on the previous month per square foot. So the sales prices haven't changed a whole bunch. Now when we look at the amount of inventory, a lot of inventory came on the market in January, and that price is at $295 to $320 a square foot. Still a little bit higher than where the buyers were looking to buy, but it kind of fits in between here when you look at the list prices. So it was $295 so we got $306, which is we look at the averages, but there's going to be some properties in there for buyers. But what's left on the market is priced between $534 and $601 for the most part. And the buyers were looking for properties priced from $472 to $512. So what's left on the market is bigger and priced a little bit higher. So there's not a lot available for the buyers that are out there who want to buy in those price ranges. Now we look at the inventory supply. We can see here that if you had something under 350, it's going to sell in a second because there's 6 sales and 4 available currently. And when we go to 350 to 400, there's about, looks like about, a little more than 2 times supply. And we've got a lot of supply in these higher groups, which means that I'm thinking that with this many people coming on the market to sell, they're looking to do something that they didn't do. Most people don't put their homes on the market in the beginning of January. So if they put them on closer to the end of January, these are people that may be looking to take advantage of the interest rates and maybe do something and move up.
And next we'll look at the northeast section of the city.
Okay, so for the northeast section, 122 sold listings in January, priced between $294 and $300 a square foot. Now when we look at how that compared to the previous month, 160 sold listings in that time period, 301 to 309 a square foot. So we're looking at a little bit lower prices for the Northeast for January compared to December. But we also had a big sale in there that would have really affected our averages, and it looks like it would have affected our average price per square foot. So I would say for the most part, prices are fairly similar. Now we look at the previous year, 166 sold listings in January. It looks like that people up in the Northeast are still, selling and buying because when we look at the other neighborhoods, there was a much bigger drop in the amount of unit sales. Now these unit sales in last year were 282 to 301. And the prices this year, I mean, almost the same as last year. So it's kind of interesting that they've maintained those sales. The average sale price, though, much higher from the previous year, as you can see. Now we look at our inventory supply, 434 active listings. So like again, I'm thinking that a lot of people have jumped into the market here. And this 1.7 million, this is a property in Coral Springs. That's kind of a rare property for there, backs onto the water there, and it's increased the average price per square foot active. But when you look at where the sellers are still asking a little bit much, because the buyers are looking for properties priced between 374 to 381, and what's on the market is 389 to 410. And when we look at what this price per square foot they're asking, that's a little bit higher than where the buyers are anticipating. So my thinking is that there's still people asking higher prices up here, especially with the inventory supply that we have. Now we look at from 200 to 250, of course, there's really nothing to buy, but from 250 to 3, there's 13 sales and 31 available, so that's a lot of inventory available, and then we've got almost an oversupply all the way up. We've got a few listings on the top end. Most of this is raw land, and this we don't usually include in our calculations because it is a different kind of sale. It's not a residential sale. Okay, so this is the overall market. So what you can see here is that in the inventory we had last year in January was 5,600 listings, and going into February we had overall inventory a high of 6,100 listings. You can see here in December we had 6,200 listings. We actually gone up by 1,000 listings or 2,000 listings here, and so we're at 8,100. So we actually have a little bit more supply than we had last year at the same time. Now we did have a number of sales, so we had 1,800 sales in January last year. This year we had 1,200 sales. We're down about 600 sales, a little bit more than that. So the sales are overall are down, the unit sales, but the average sale price is the same. And as far as that goes, 453,000 was our average sale price, and 453,000 was our average sale price last month. So the price hasn't changed much. But I don't actually like to look at that as a number, as I explained earlier, because the average only means that maybe people bought more expensive homes or less expensive homes. So it's not an indicator.
So, but none of us really know exactly what's going to happen. I'd appreciate your opinion below in some of the comments. I'm always interested in reading your comments about what's happening in our local market. And also, stay tuned, because I look at each individual area of the city, northwest, southwest, northeast, inner city, and in this report, and compare the square footages and show you sellers and buyers what's happening in each of those individual markets. So leave your comments below, and happy watching.